So I'm going to talk a little bit about the issues with using primary law's data. Um, okay, so this may sound kind of facile at this point, but if we think about what primary law actually is, what it's a record of, what it's data for, it's not great for certain things. It's not really good to understand what happens to people in society when particular life events happen to them. It's really the record of some kind of administrative process. So it's a record of the law. It's not a record of life. And so it documents processes. I think in some ways it's more like accounting than it is like a presentation of rules. And so it's a way to track that certain steps have been taken, that proper process has been followed. And it's not designed to communicate what should happen in the future. We just kind of use it that way because that's traditionally what we do. Instead, especially case law, it's linguistic. It's a story, it's narrational, it's applied in a given context. It's not necessarily applicable in a different context. And all these things make it very difficult to use the law itself as evidence or as data about what's likely to happen. And it's as complex as human relationships. If you think about how complex the relationship between two people is, and then we have kind of modern nation states and jurisdictions where you have millions of people who have to live together, that we need to have a system that's robust enough. So there's a limit to how much we're ever going to be able to simplify it, because there's so many situations and it's not easy for us to speak with somebody and just kind of work it out. It's hard enough to work things out with the people we live with, never mind everybody who lives in a country. Another element about the law is that it's deep data. The documents are long. It's not like the kind of data that you can get from like a commercial website. So you think about your interactions with Amazon. You go to the website, you look at something, you go and look at something else, you put it in your cart, you add it to your wish list, you take it out of your cart, you take it out, whatever. But really, the interesting thing for them is whether you buy it or not. It's a kind of yes-no binary outcome, which they can predict for you. But primary law, there's no, to say that somebody won or lost a case is kind of not logical. It's you can win a case and have somebody still be convicted. You can lose a case and have someone still get damages. It depends on the underlying facts and situation. And so what tends to happen is this affects what kinds of tools and techniques will affect how law is given. And so that's why we have a lot of uses for legal data which are based on natural language processing rather than statistical applications, because in most instances there isn't actually enough data, and there's issues with things like sampling where statistically it's a very problematic data set. And so we have to be careful about how we're using it, because we have the potential to bring in some significant bias there. And there's a reason why close reading is so important to legal scholarship. And I think that people who are kind of legal computing evangelists would like to kind of move away from close reading, but in many cases, there may be 5 cases that are relevant to a particular matter, and it just makes sense to read those. We don't need, AI systems that are going to be set up and hand-tooled for all these situations when you could read relatively small number of documents, and that could be a more accurate way to assess it. So what I would end with is that we need to remember that the law can reliably tell us about the law itself. Whether we can extrapolate what the law tells us to the world is another question. And we need to be sophisticated when we're doing that, because it really has the potential to have some very kind of biased results. The law tends to reflect the issues and needs of people who are, have money, complex legal problems, high conflict, all these things which don't necessarily reflect the underlying population as a whole. And so I would invite us to consider it as something to take with some caution. Thank you.